bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess and this is Comcast Newsmakers. Our topic today is elder abuse. Here to discuss it with us is State Representative Pam Byrnes, a Democrat from the 52nd District, which represents Washtenaw County. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Why are we talking about elder abuse? Is it on the rise, and what exactly are we talking about?
Well, we have an aging population here in Michigan, and there's also issues with not only physical abuse, but financial exploitation. And as a family law practitioner, I was aware of this many years ago, and we are seeing now a rise in exploitation and physical abuse of elderly people. And so the governor commissioned a task force about 3 years ago, and that task force came up with a number of recommendations. And now the legislature, particularly the House, is moving to implement some of those recommendations with legislation.
Very quickly, I know there's probably a lot of them, but what are some of the main recommendations and changes that that the task force would like to see?
Well, some of it is expanding the definition of abuse so that financial exploitation is considered an abuse. Also requirements of notification that, let's say when you go to a bank with an elderly person, that they know what their rights are and that they know that somebody else is going to be on their account, to make sure that they're aware of it. So more notice to the individual that if you have a child on the account, that child could possibly get in and take all your money.
What, I know there's a lot of legislation in various stages, both in the House and the Senate. I think 22 pieces currently.
That's correct.
Anything that's close to being passed, or timeline-wise, at least close to getting to the next step?
Yes, in fact, just several days ago, we passed a couple pieces of legislation that would allow the videotaping of an elderly person who's vulnerable, so that they are not exposed in a courtroom, so that they are in a more protected environment. Also, the penalties have been extended for people that have committed abuse of an elderly person. So that, let's say you have committed a felony and taken your grandmother's money, that you cannot benefit from that. You are found guilty, and therefore you cannot be entitled to that money.
And is this legislation that is similar to what is happening in other states right now, or how does Michigan sort of, are we ahead of the game, behind the game? Well,
I think that every state is kind of looking into their probate code, which is essentially how you look at estates and guardianships. So as each state moves through, they're going to be looking at these examples of elder abuse and what needs to be done to protect our elderly. So it's mainly a matter of education. One area is variable annuities, which most people wouldn't think is something that is suspect, but sometimes there's like a 10-year penalty if you cash in that annuity. So if you sell it to an individual who's 85 years old, and which means that if they cash it in before they're 95, they'll have some type of financial penalty. So there's those practices out there that need to be, admonished for the people.
And you would hope that it's not family really being the perpetrators, but it sounds like in most cases, in many cases, it is.
It is.
Children, grandchildren, siblings,
yes,
taking financial advantage of the elderly.
In many cases, the attorney, when you have an incapacitated senior, let's say, will recommend that you have a durable power of attorney. So one piece of legislation is to have that person who's designated the power of attorney to sign a statement recognizing what their financial duties are and the liability that if they misappropriate those funds, their exposure.
Okay, well, lots of great legislation out there. 22 pieces, that's actually encouraging.
Yes.
Even if half of them make it into law in some way, shape, or form, we can better protect the senior citizens amongst us. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today's Comcast Newsmaker was State Representative Pam Byrnes, a Democrat from the 52nd District.